You've done it. You've finally made it. Everything you ever wanted. Everything is right in front of you. You're standing in a throne room carved from Latverian granite, overlooking a country that answers to no one but you. Not the United Nations, not the Avengers, you. Every soldier, every scientist, every peasant farmer tilling the frost-bitten soil outside your castle walls calls you one thing, Master. You are Victor Von Doom. You are, by any meaningful metric, the most dangerous individual walking the face of the earth. Your intellect eclipses nearly every mind on the planet. You've built technology that would make Tony Stark weep with envy. You've mastered sorcery to a degree that puts you in the same breath as the Sorcerer Supreme. You are king. You are conqueror. You have bent time, space, and reality itself to your will. You once stole the power of the Beyonder, an entity that treats galaxies like snow globes, and became God. Not metaphorically, literally. You held omnipotence in your iron gauntlets. Congratulations. You are the supreme monarch, the genius, the sorcerer, the would-be god emperor of mankind, and you are the most miserable soul in the entire Marvel universe. But here's the thing about being Doctor Doom that no one tells you. Not the comics, not the movies, not the wiki pages. The thing they leave out, buried under all the grandiosity and the dramatic monologues and the world-conquering schemes, you are rotting inside that armor. Let's start with the most basic, visceral reality of your daily existence. That iconic mask, the faceplate that has become the most feared visage on the planet, it was forged by Tibetan monks. And you, in your obsessive, theatrical impatience, pressed it onto your face before the metal had cooled. Think about that. Not as a comic book panel, as biology. Superheated steel making contact with living tissue. Your skin didn't just burn, it fused. The epidermis liquefied on contact and then rehardened around the metal's imperfections. The subcutaneous fat beneath your cheeks rendered like tallow. The nerve endings in your face, and the human face contains some of the densest clusters of nerve endings in the entire body, didn't cauterize cleanly. They melted partway, leaving thousands of them in a permanent state of partial signal, which means that every single moment of every single day, your face doesn't just hurt, it screams. A low, unending, white noise howl of sensation that your brain can never fully tune out. You feel the mask at all times, not as weight, as memory. Your own flesh, remembering the moment it was destroyed, on a loop, forever. And you can never take it off. Not really. Because what's underneath is worse than the mask. What's underneath isn't a face anymore. It's a topographical map of self-inflicted annihilation. In some continuities, the scarring was minor before you put the mask on. A single, small imperfection from a laboratory accident. Your vanity, your pathological inability to accept anything less than perfection, turned a blemish into a permanent disfigurement. You did this to yourself. And you know it. Every second of every day, you know it. That is minute 1 of being Dr. Doom. You haven't even gotten out of bed yet. Now let's talk about the suit. The full-body shell of titanium alloy armor that you wear every waking hour. People look at that armor and they see power, force fields, energy projection, jet boots, micro-missile arrays, a walking arsenal that can go toe-to-toe with the Hulk on a good day. And they're right. It is all of those things. But it's also a coffin you climb into every morning. The human body was never meant to be encased in metal for sustained periods. Your skin needs to breathe. It needs UV exposure for vitamin D synthesis. It needs to regulate its own temperature through perspiration and evaporation, a process that is fundamentally impossible inside a sealed suit of armor. What you're actually living inside is a climate-controlled shell of recycled air, and no matter how advanced Doom's filtration systems are, you're still breathing your own exhaled CO2, your own humidity, your own biological off-gassing for hours on end. The inside of that armor stinks. It smells like copper and sweat and the faintly sweet scent of skin that never fully dries. Your muscles are atrophying. Not dramatically, not overnight, but slowly, inevitably. Because the suit's servo motors do most of the heavy lifting for you. Your joints are degrading because they're locked into the suit's range of motion, not your body's natural biomechanics. Your spine is compressing under the weight distribution of a full metal exoskeleton that, no matter how brilliantly engineered, does not move the way a human skeleton was designed to move. You are, in the most literal medical sense, developing the body of an elderly man decades ahead of schedule. And the caloric demand? The caloric demand, running that armor requires biometric interface, neural uplink. Constant micro-adjustments of thought-controlled systems, your brain is burning glucose at a rate comparable to an air traffic controller during a crisis. Constantly. You need to eat like an Olympic athlete just to maintain baseline cognitive function, and you can't exactly pop the faceplate open for a sandwich during a battle with the Fantastic Four. So you have nutrient paste, delivered through a tube, into your ruined mouth, while you monologue about the inferiority of Reed Richards. This is the glamour of being Dr. Doom. But the mechanical nightmare doesn't stop at biology, it extends to the very infrastructure of your power. Latveria, your kingdom, your masterpiece. On paper, it's a utopia. Zero crime rate, universal healthcare, advanced technology decades beyond anything the rest of Eastern Europe can offer. The citizens of Latveria want for nothing. And that's the propaganda line. That's what Doom tells himself. That's the story that justifies every human rights violation, every purge, every disappeared dissident. But the reality is that Latveria runs on fear, and fear requires maintenance. You have Doombots, robotic duplicates of yourself, patrolling every street, monitoring every conversation, standing in for you at diplomatic functions so that no one ever knows where the real Doom actually is. You built an entire army of yourself because you cannot trust a single living soul to act in your interest. Think about what that means. You have replaced human connection with mechanical simulacra of yourself. Your most trusted lieutenants are literally copies of your own face. Your government is a hall of mirrors, and you're standing in the center, alone, surrounded by reflections that can't think, can't question, can't disagree, and can't care. The Doombots aren't servants, they're a confession. They are the physical, tangible manifestation of Victor Von Doom's absolute inability to trust another human being. And when one of them malfunctions, when one of them goes rogue or gets captured by the Avengers, you don't feel concern. You feel violation. Because a Doombot with your face is out there, being defeated, being humiliated, being unmasked, and every single one of those indignities reflects back on you. Your paranoia doesn't decrease as you build more Doombots. It multiplies. Every copy is another vulnerability. Every mirror is another crack. Now let's get to the part that actually destroys you. Not the armor, not the scarring, not the geopolitics, the loneliness. You are, without exaggeration, experiencing solitary confinement while surrounded by people. Every interaction you have with another human being is filtered through a matrix of suspicion, superiority, and performance. You cannot speak to someone without calculating their angle. You cannot receive a compliment without scanning it for sarcasm. You cannot sit in a room with another person and simply be present, because being present means being vulnerable. And being vulnerable means being Victor. The Romani boy from the caravan, the child who watched his mother die, the teenager who wasn't good enough. And Victor is someone you murdered a long time ago. Doom doesn't have friends. Doom has assets. Doom doesn't have lovers. Doom has political alliances and biological imperatives. Doom doesn't have confidants. Doom has Doombots that he programs to tell him what he wants to hear. And then, there's the exhausting faculty of dealing with regular human beings. You are, conservatively, the second or third smartest person on the planet. Every conversation you have with a normal person is like a university professor being forced to explain calculus to a toddler, while the toddler is also trying to kill you or manipulate you, or beg for your mercy. The cognitive dissonance of being so far above everyone around you, while simultaneously being unable to achieve the one thing you actually want, is a psychological meat grinder that never stops turning. Because here's the secret, the real one, the one that makes Dr. Doom the most tragic figure in Marvel Comics. You know, on some level, in some locked room in the basement of your psyche, that Reed Richards is smarter than you. Not by much, maybe by a fraction, maybe by a margin so thin it would take a cosmic entity to measure it. But it's there, and you feel it. Every time you build a device, and Richards builds a better one. Every time you concoct a plan, and he finds the flaw. Every time you reach for ultimate power, and he's the one who pulls it away from you. Not because he's trying to humiliate you, that's almost the worst part. He's not even trying. He's just better. Effortlessly, infuriatingly, cosmically better. And he doesn't even have the decency to gloat about it. Reed Richards has everything you want. Not the power, not the kingdom. He has a family. He has Susan Storm who loves him despite his flaws. He has children who adore him. He has a brother-in-law who would die for him, and a best friend made of rocks who would walk through hellfire at his word. Reed Richards has human connection. Real, messy, imperfect, beautiful human connection. And you have a castle full of robots wearing your face. You once held the power of God, literally the Beyonder's omnipotence. And do you know what undid you? It wasn't a weapon, it wasn't a counterspell. It was the fact that even with infinite power, you couldn't believe you deserved it. Deep down, beneath the armor and the arrogance and the world-shaking declarations, you suspected, you knew that Reed Richards would have done it better, would have been a better God, and that doubt, that single hairline fracture of self-awareness, was enough to bring the entire thing crashing down. You had omnipotence, and your own self-loathing took it from you. That is not a supervillain problem. That is a human problem, amplified to cosmic scale and locked inside a suit of iron. And now let's zoom out. Because your suffering doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists inside a system, a geopolitical machine that views you not as a person, but as a problem to be managed. To the United Nations, you are a rogue state leader, a dictator with weapons of mass destruction and a history of international aggression. They don't care about your mother's soul. They don't care about the future timelines you've seen, the ones where only Doom's absolute rule prevents humanity's extinction. They see a threat matrix, a risk assessment, a file on a desk in the Triskelion labeled Doom V, Priority Omega. To the Avengers, you are a recurring inconvenience, a boss fight, a quarterly earnings report in their never-ending war on villainy. They will punch you, imprison you, strip you of whatever cosmic power you've acquired this time, and then go home to their tower and eat shawarma while you're dragged back to a cell that can't hold you, because nothing can hold you. And the whole cycle starts again. They don't hate you. That would at least be personal. They're just tired of you. You are a chore, a seasonal obligation, like filing taxes or cleaning gutters. To Mephisto, the literal devil, you are entertainment. A soul he has dangled and tormented for decades. Your mother, Cynthia Von Doom, made a bargain with the Demon Lord. She sold her soul for power to protect her people, and she was dragged to hell for it. And you, her son, the genius, the sorcerer, the king, have spent your entire adult life trying to get her back. You have stormed the gates of hell multiple times. You have bargained, fought, bled, and screamed in the pits of Marvel's literal inferno. And every single time, Mephisto finds a way to keep her. Not because he needs her soul. He doesn't. One Romani woman's spirit is meaningless in the economy of hell. He keeps her because it keeps you coming back. You are Mephisto's favorite toy. Your love for your mother, the last genuine, uncorrupted human emotion left inside you, is the string he uses to make you dance. And you know this. You know you're being manipulated. You know the game is rigged. And you go anyway. Because what else are you going to do? Give up? Doom does not give up. Doom cannot give up. Your identity is built on the refusal to accept defeat, and so you will throw yourself into hell again and again and again, and every time you fail, another piece of whatever softness was left inside you calcifies into rage. Hope doesn't fade for Dr. Doom. Hope is surgically removed, one failed rescue mission at a time, and replaced with something harder and colder and less human. The system, the cosmic, political, supernatural system, does not want Victor Von Doom to succeed. It doesn't want him to fail either. It wants him to persist, to keep struggling, to keep generating conflict. Because conflict is content. Conflict is narrative. The universe itself treats you as a story engine, a perpetual motion machine of ambition and defeat, and it will never ever let you rest. You are not a king, you are not a conqueror, you are a statistic in someone else's ledger, a recurring line item in the Avengers mission logs, a footnote in Mephisto's trophy case, a data point in Reed Richards' ongoing theorem about the nature of human potential. You are a tool, and tools don't get to retire. So here you are at the end of it. You're sitting on your throne in Castle Doom, and the granite is cold through the armor, and your face is burning the way it always burns. And the Doombots are standing at attention in the corridors. Your face, your posture, dozens of hollow copies staring at nothing with eyes that can't see. And outside the window, Latveria is quiet. Quiet because it's afraid. Quiet because silence is the sound a country makes when it has been loved so violently that it has forgotten how to speak. And you're thinking about your mother. You're always thinking about your mother. You're thinking about the fact that you have conquered nations, outwitted gods, held the fundamental forces of creation in your hands like a child holding a butterfly, and you could not save one woman from hell. You are the supreme genius, the master of science and sorcery, and your mother is still burning. right now, while you sit here. She is still burning. And tomorrow you'll wake up, and the armor will seal around you like a second rib cage, and the mask will press against the ruin of your face, and you'll walk out into your kingdom of silence and robots, and you'll start planning again. Another scheme, another device, another assault on the gates of damnation, or the Baxter Building, or the fabric of reality itself. Because that's what Doom does. Doom persists. Doom endures. Doom refuses to stop. But persisting isn't living. Enduring isn't thriving. Refusing to stop isn't the same as moving forward. It's just running in place inside an iron shell, burning alive from the inside, forever. And when it finally ends, when some cosmic event or accumulated entropy or one final, perfectly placed punch from Reed Richards' stretching fist finally puts Victor Von Doom into the ground, there will be no real mourning. The Latverians will stand in the streets and wonder if it's safe to speak above a whisper yet. The Avengers will update their files. Mephisto will find a new toy. Reed Richards will feel a brief, genuine pang of sadness, because he's decent like that, the bastard, and then he'll go home to his wife and his children and his life full of love and connection and warmth, and he'll forget about you by Thursday. There will be no burial that means anything. The Doombots will carry your body into the crypt beneath the castle, because that's what they're programmed to do, and they'll stand guard over your corpse with your own face, forever, in the dark, an army of mirrors reflecting nothing. No funeral. Not a real one. Because who would come? Who would grieve? Your subjects feared you. Your enemies pitied you. Your mother's soul, the one thing you spent your entire life fighting for, is still in hell. And your death doesn't change that. It just means no one's coming for her anymore. Ever. You wore the crown. You wore the armor. You wore the mask. You carried the weight of genius and sorcery and kingship and cosmic ambition on shoulders that were never wide enough, inside a body that was always breaking, behind a face that was always burning. And it was all of it. Every scheme, every conquest, every stolen godhood, every battle, every scar, every sleepless night in a castle full of your own hollow reflections. For absolutely nothing.